We talk about mental health and social media all the time here at DBL, and we also share a building with 9 News here in Denver, and one of our colleagues was on the receiving end of some hurtful comments. This is meteorologist Becky Ditchfield, and she's pregnant, and she was getting trolled for her baby bump and the way she looked on camera. People called her a freak, but instead of ignoring their damaging words, she courageously took on the haters, and now she's saying thank you. Watch.
The email I addressed yesterday was just one of many the station and I have received complaining about my size and the type of maternity clothing that I've chosen to wear. So, in an effort to stand up for myself, I used the math that I learned in school to demonstrate the actual size of my belly, and then took more measurements to calculate how much real estate the bump took up on the weather wall. Your response has been overwhelmingly positive and supportive, and I wanted to say thank you. Thank you. Knowing that my family, my coworkers, and you have my back means the world to me. You know, sometimes I think I feel too much to be in this business. Words like freak, disgusting, and nauseating play off on my insecurities. In fact, earlier this week, I had to leave my desk at work, go lock myself up in a private bathroom, and just allow myself to cry. Processing my feelings and knowing what I need to do to take back my power is something that's taken me years of therapy to learn. It's not easy, but I am so glad I took the time to take care of my mental health. I wish I could force people to have more compassion, but the only person I can work on and change is myself. I believe there's enough space for all of us to share joy and happiness in this world. We just need to learn how to do it.
Oh, man. Amen. Wow.
That's amazing.
Wow, amazing. And Becky, thank you for joining us. Erica Cobb, who's typically not on this hour, was so moved by your story. She asked to join the conversation as well. We are all moved. What made you, because I know this is your 3rd child on the way, what made you want to, because as a mom that also was on live TV while being pregnant, what made you this time say, I'm going to confront this?
Well, the conversation recently has changed, more so in the last 2 or 3 years than I think was even in place when I had my now youngest, who is 4. So that kind of gave me a little bit more courage. And for me, it's always appeared as a life lesson to stand up for myself. And I've always struggled with that.
Me too.
It's been really hard because I don't want to hurt anybody else's feelings in doing so, but I'm not doing myself any benefits unless I do. And I'm not setting a good example for my daughter unless I stand up for myself.
Wow.
So it took 4 days for me to do that because the idea popped in my head and I said, well, if they're going to complain about my size, I'm going to measure exactly. I know the math. I'm going to measure how much I actually take up, but I needed to give myself time to heal and really process what I was feeling to be able to say what I wanted to say appropriately.
Why did you measure the bump? I know, to me, you always want to use humor, and it was a fantastic way of kind of throwing it back, but you also moved it into something that got our attention. Tell me why you decided to measure the bump.
I just thought that like if they're going to tell me that I'm 2 miles big or whatever the thing was, I wanted to know for myself, well, exactly how much am I taking up? So I could say, okay, well, maybe I need to move in a different way across the camera, but I could make it more factual and it would help me process what they were saying and give them less power and me more power because then I knew what the facts were behind.
The fact that you're working pregnant, carrying a human being, and there's nothing but accolade for your mother hustler-ness. Like, what world are we living in?
Well, that's what I want to ask, because Becky, I've known you for 10 years, and your first pregnancy 6 years ago, you received backlash, but it was different. It seemed like it was different. There seems to be more immediacy at this point, like it's happening at a real-time, rapid pace.
Well, and I think social media does that too. It kind of gives people this permission to come at you really quickly.
Yes.
And then they just kind of spew whatever they want to out of their mouths. And every time this has happened, I always sit there and I'm like, why are people so mean? And I always run into the same wall because I can't explain why they are, but I can try and look at what they're saying and how that's having an impact on me and where that's coming from within me. and I can address that.
How did you? I'm like you. I don't like to stand up I don't like confrontation.
Right.
All of,
And she did it with kindness.
And you did it with agreed. But where did the bravery? You need a spark of bravery. Was it the anger? Was it what? What was that?
I think it was just a combination of everything. Well, one, initially you see it and you get really angry, and then two, like I said, like it impacted me. The more I would talk about it, thinking I was getting it off my chest, it just made me more emotional, and that's why I had to leave, go to the bathroom, and I'm like, I need to just feel this and figure out where this is coming from. And then I knew I wanted to address it. I just didn't know how. And finally, it was like Thursday. I don't know what it was, but something lit a fire under my butt. And I said, I'm going to do it in this way. I went and I read it to somebody else just to make sure I wasn't being too inappropriate. And they all thought it was great.
Yeah.
And it's that anxiety moment where you're like,
Yep. Oh, yeah.
am I going to do that? And I'm like, I'm going to do it because I needed to first and foremost do it for myself.
Bravo.
And then hopefully it'll help somebody else.
It definitely is. Way to advocate for yourself and others with style and grace. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for
And you're just across the hall. She's just across the hall. We're so honored. We'll be right back. Thank you.
That was amazing. Amazing.